Hello everybody, welcome to my first Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to make an explosive gore effect using assets from Banjo-Tooie and blood particles. And without further ado, I hope you enjoy. Gore effect to work. So let's get started. So first thing you want to do is open up these two websites, modelsresource.com and texturesresource.com. Now, you don't have to use textures resource, but models resource is where it's at. They take ripped models from video games and upload them here. So here we have Mumbo Jumbo, which is one of the characters from Banjo-Tooie that I will be using to demonstrate this. So what you want to do is download this model, and I already have them downloaded. And once you have them downloaded and extracted, you want to open up Blender. And here's the default setup for Blender. So you want to go ahead and delete this cube. Now we'll be going a bit fast. I'll try my best to demonstrate everything, but this is one of the longest parts, or the longer parts of the tutorial. So what you want to do is go ahead and go to import object, go to downloads, or wherever you have it saved. I have mine saved in downloads. Then Mumbo, the object, and then we want to scale them up a bit. And then we want to make sure, first of all, that we not do that. We want these all checked, but what you want to do is select all of the parts of your imported mesh and hit Ctrl J. That joins them all. So we could just rename this body. And there we go, there's our body. So now what we want to do is switch over to cycles render. This isn't necessary, but it makes the model look better in Unreal. And switch on backface culling. And then go to add modifier, solidify, set the thickness to 0, and flip normals. Keep that checked and hit apply. And it doesn't look like it did anything, but in Unreal you'll be able to see everything on either side of the model. So now it's time to rig it. So rigging takes a bit longer, but what we're going to want to do is in object mode, which we're in now, hit Shift A and create a single bone in armature. And then in the armature panel, go over to the armature properties and go down to X-ray so we can see inside where we're placing our bones. So let's just scale this down a bit. And then let's create all the bones corresponding with the parts you want exploding. So if you want individual fingers exploding, you would make bones for the fingers. But for me, since it's a low poly model, I want to keep it rather spread out, so there aren't going to be as many bones, say as if you were making an actual human for a model. So let's go into edit mode so we can make more bones. And hit E and then C. And there's our head bone. So if you select this and hit Alt P, we can disconnect it, which is what we're going to want to do for all of the bones. So grab this part down here, hit E and C, and we're going to want to disconnect this, and then hit E and C, and then disconnect, bring that over here, and then hit Shift D and X, bring that over here. And this one's a bit too far. Bring these back a bit. There we go. So we can scale that up a bit. Just adjusting the bones, that's all. Okay, so next thing we want to do is we want to make the feet. So hit E, Y, to extrude in that direction. And then make sure you remember to disconnect all of these bones. Scale this a bit. Bring this out. P. Disconnect bone. Disconnect bone. Disconnect bone. Alright, so here you can extrude X. And you definitely want to disconnect this one. Scale it down a bit. Like to right here. And extrude X. Bring this down. Alt P, disconnect bone. And then we want to make sure these are positioned properly. They don't have to be, as long as you have the bones properly assigned. They don't necessarily have to be set up this way, but for convenience, it's good practice to set the bones up this way. Oops. Alt P, disconnect bone. About right here. Alright. Up. Like that. Alright, so that's all our bones. Now we want to go into our armature and rename our bones accordingly. Make sure these are all disconnected. And you also want to clear the parent for all of them. There we go. So select the bone. You want to edit and name it accordingly. So this bone is head. This bone right here is left arm. And that's left from the perspective of Mumbo, not from our perspective. So left arm. Left hand. Right. Oh no, this is the spine right here. Spine. Right arm. Right hand. Right leg. Right foot. Left leg. Left foot. Can't spell. Left foot. And finally, left. Or right hand, I believe. We already had right hand. The other two. No, that was the hip, not the right hand. Hip, and this is the right hand. There we go. So now our armature is set up. Now what we want to do is we can bring it out here so we can see it better. If we want to grab Mumbo, then hold shift and grab that. Hit Control P and assign with empty groups. Now that we've done that, we're going to go into edit mode and select all your bones and drag them back into place. And then hold shift and press S, cursor to selected. Go back into object mode and set origin to 3D cursor. There, we have our rigged Mumbo. Now we need to assign each of the individual parts. So, in order to do that, we right click on our body, hit tab. Now we can actually turn off the X-ray. You can leave it on if you want, but it makes it kind of difficult to see. So what we want to do is go to object mode or edit mode for the mesh. Go into face select, hit C, and select the part you want to assign to your bone. So for the head, I'm going to select all of this. Just make sure we're getting all of these faces. So I'm going into wireframe mode. We just want the head for this. Oops. Alright, so that should be good for the head. So now that we have the head selected, you're going to want to find your head in the vertex group section, which is right here, and hit assign. Then hit deselect and select. And that's just to see if you have your head mapped correctly. You don't have to deselect and select, but I like to do it just to see if I've assigned it correctly. So just do that for the rest of the bones. It's quite a long process, so I'll be skipping ahead to where I'm finished, but you can go ahead and do that for the rest of the bones. So now we've finished, we've completely rigged them. So now it's time to get into Unreal. So let's open up Unreal here. Alright, let's pick a new project. Let's do a first person, and let's just name it Gore, or whatever you want to call it. And with starter content is fine, it doesn't really matter, it's up to you, because we won't be using any of the starter content. We will be using engine assets later on. So, create project. Let me just open up another instance for my old project, so I can reference that. And Gore. Alright. Alright, so here's Gore. So it's the first default first person project. Alright, so first thing we're going to want to do is create our folders. So create a folder called audio, a folder called blood, and a folder called bk_assets. And in bk assets, we're going to create two subfolders. One is called Bregull, and the other is called Mumbo. Alright, so what we're going to want to do, you can skip ahead, I'll have timestamps below in the video, but just for the aesthetic of it, what I'm going to do is import a model from the models resource for Banjo-Tooie, and it's the Bregull Blaster. I already have this downloaded, so I'm going to create a new Blender file and import the object. Let's see, wherever you have it saved, I have it saved in my downloads folder. And then we're going to want to export this as FBX. Head over to the geometries tab in the properties and set smoothing the face, and then export. I already have it exported, so Then what we want to do is go into our first person BP folder and open up our first person character. And what we're going to do is parent the FP gun to the first person camera instead of the mesh 2P. And we're going to import the Bregull now. So go to BK Assets, Bregull, and import. And then wherever you have it saved, have it in Documents. And import it as a skeletal mesh. Make sure skeleton is set to none. Alright, there we go. It's probably going to take a little longer because I have second instance. Oh, I forgot to mention, when you're creating the Bregull asset and when you import it, the eyes and the actual body will be separate. So you want to join those. And then we can export properly. Let me just delete these and re-import. There we go. So now we have the full mesh. It's textured and everything. So we want to go back into our first person blueprint. So this first person character. And replace our FP gun with our Bregull and adjust according to the mesh 2P. So you can turn off snap scaling by clicking this arrow right here and just scale it down. Scale it and adjust it. To about here. I think that's good. Let's scale it down a bit more. Now we can see we have our Bregull blaster with the animation. But it's not positioned properly. So I think we need to scale it down a little bit more. Bring it up and bring it forward like so. That looks better. It's not quite, it's not 100% accurate, but that's just the way we have our camera set up. So now we're going to get our character in Mumbo. Let's go to BK Assets, Mumbo, and import our Mumbo rig that we made. So yeah, make sure you import them as a skeletal mesh. And then when importing, use TOA's refos and update skeleton reference. And import normals and tangents. So now we have them imported, and I'm gonna compile shaders. Let's wait for it to do that. I'm saving the assets right now. Alright, so now open up the Mumbo Rig physics asset. And here we have the original physics. So if you hit simulate, you should just ragdoll to the ground like so. So we can stop simulating. But what we want is for an explosive Gore effect. So we want Mumbo to explode into pieces when we simulate physics on his physics body. So what we're gonna do is select everything. Hit delete and select everything again, and in body creation switch it to single convex hull. Actually no, not single, switch it to box, and add or replace bodies. Now what we're going to want to do is delete the constraints on the boxes. So delete all the constraints Alright, so if we simulate, you can see it just breaks into pieces, which is what we want. So that's our physics asset set up. Now we can set up our actual pawn for Mumbo. So go over to back to BK assets and blueprint class, pawn. Just we can name this, name this Mumbo. And add a skeletal mesh component. And Mumbo rig. And add a collider, capsule collision. And then make that the root, and then scale Mumbo down to fit inside the capsule. Like so. Right there, that's good. Right there is fine. We want to reduce the capsule height a bit. There we go. Let's compile and then let's bring that in. We could scale that up a bit. Alright, there we go. So we have our character in, and as you can see, we can see it from both sides. So that's good. We want to change in Mumbo. We want to change the capsule from overlap all dynamic to block all dynamic, so that we can't just go through them. So I'm gonna save all, and then what you want to do now is go down to your skeletal mesh, go down to physics, show advance, and physics asset override to Mumbo rig physics asset. So now all we have to do is go into our projectile. And here's the event hit. So what we're going to do is add a sequence. Maps then 0. And for other, actually this could be then 1. For other, we cast to Mumbo. Here we go. And as Mumbo, we want to get the skeletal mesh. And the skeletal mesh, we want to set simulate physics to true. And that should give us the effect we need. Oh wait, let me see, what am I missing? Actually no, we want the projectile. Oh, I believe it has something to do with, the collision on our Mumbo. Let me go back here and take a look. Yeah, I had to switch it back to overlap all dynamic. That was the issue. So yeah, don't do block all dynamic, do overlap all, and then set pawn collision. That's what I forgot to do. So for the skeletal mesh, go to collision presets, pawn, and then for the capsule, switch it back to overlap all dynamic. That should give us, there we go. So as you can see, our Mumbo kind of explodes into pieces like we want him to. Perfect. So now what we're going to do is get a sound effect in there, and I will link all of these assets that I use for this project in the description right here. And we're going to get this Gore sound effect I have, and we don't need Blender anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and close that. So we want to open back up our projectile and just drag this in, connect it here. So we have this nice little Gore sound effect. So now onto the blood. So this is the more advanced part of the tutorial. So we go into blood and we drag these three into the folder, and it'll tell you that the normal map was imported as a normal map, which is good. That's what you want. So let's create a new material called a blood map. And if I remember correctly, the first thing we want to do, yeah, so here's what the blood map should look like. So yeah, we're going to start with the normal. And this is jogging my memory, so create a transform vector and then bring in the diffuse and the normal. I'm going to plug the normal up to the transform vector. Then we want a reflection vector. Plug that up. And then what we want to do is copy and paste this normal. And then for the texture, view options, show engine content, and cube map. We want T cube map 01. Reroute this reflection vector into UVs. And what we want to do is bring this back here. Hold M and click for multiply. And hold C and click. No, not for a comment. That's not what I wanted. What I wanted to do is make a constant. Maybe is it P for parameter? No, it's panner. Okay. So convert to parameter. And we want to call this specular. And we can set its default value to something like 0.1. And then we want particle color. Yeah, this is all coming back to me now. So we want to multiply our particle color. So remember, hold M and click to create a new multiply node. And we're going to want to add an add node between these two. And I will explain this all after. We have base color. Plug it in the base color. Nothing should be happening at the moment. And what you want to do is click on your actual material, change the blend mode from opaque to translucent, and keep the lighting on volumetric non-directional. Alright, so we want to create a dynamic parameter. And we can, up here, right click expand all, expand all. So we want to name the first one erosion and set it to 0.5. There we go. So now what we're going to want to do is, I believe, subtract, then divide. So we want to subtract by erosion. Into this texture sample. This is all going to be mapped into, I believe, the opacity. So we want to saturate after the division. And plug this saturate into opacity. And then create another constant, which we can convert to a parameter. Set the value to like 0.1. Right click, convert to parameter. Call this softness. this is heavily based on another tutorial on creating blood, which I will link in the description. It's a really great tutorial, and he probably does a better job explaining it than me. Yeah, there we go. We should have this like kind of blotchy blood effect. So let me just make sure I got that all right. Yep, looks like it. So you need to route the subtract into the multiply. There we go. Alright, so now what we're going to want to do is create a new particle system. So go back to your blood folder, our particle system, and call it blood particle, or you can call it whatever you want, but I like to call it blood particle. And so in required, change the default particle to your blood mat, and change the background color to gray, or about here. There we go. So now we're gonna add a bunch of parameters to this. So we're gonna want to add constant acceleration, initial rotation rate, and we're going to want to add a dynamic parameter, and then add size by life. So let's go into our dynamic and right click expand all. We set this constant to 0.5, I believe it's 0.5. Let me check, it might be something else. It's 0.2, 0.2 and then 1. We want to change this, actually, just think about this now, to constant curve. And we can make 3 points, expand these all. So this is 0.2, 1, 1. So it kind of fades out like that. And so for size by life, do the life multiplier, the constant curve. There we go. I believe we set that to 8 by 8 and 0.2 by 0.2. By 8. There we go. So now we're kind of getting this thick, expansive blood effect. So an initial rotation rate, I think it's like 0.8 to 1.2, something like that. That might be a bit much. Negative 0.15 by 0.15. And for the constant acceleration, let's have negative 600. So for the constant acceleration, you want z negative 600. I think. Alright, so for initial velocity, you want 50, 50, 400, and negative 50, 100. And so we're going to make sure the initial rotation is set back to 0, 1. So we're kind of getting this spurty blood liquid effect. So for color over life, expand all. What we want is 0.300, and then you want, I think, 100. That might be 2. I think that's alright. So that's our blood effect. Got this nice fountain of blood. So now what we're going to do is go back to Mumbo, save all, add component, particle, system, blood particle. And we want to go back into our blood particle, set for the required emitter duration to 4, number of loops to 1. There we go. So now, all we have to do is go back into our projectile, and as Bumbo, get our particle system. Actually, I think we want to get blood particle. I can't type, sorry. Get blood particle. There we go. What we're going to want to do is set activate. And go into our Mumbo, go to our blood particle, I'll activate to false. And so, yeah, but we can adjust our particle because it looks off, out of place. So turn auto activate back on to see, and we can put it about right there. Auto activate back off. Let's bring it down a bit more to like the feet. And there we go. You got a nice little explosive gore effect. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. This is my first Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. Feedback would be greatly appreciated. And thank you guys for watching.